Third phase of moon.
Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. Blake Cousins here. We've got a special report for you. We're going to take a trip to the red planet Mars. A lot of topic in regards to the mysteries. If there's life on the red planet itself, some people are stating that they found mushrooms on Mars, but there is this photograph that has come out via the rover, which showcases something very interesting. We've got a lot of stuff we're going to be going over tonight that, in my opinion, showcases that there is indeed something of intelligent life that once or still does exist on Mars. And as we're looking at these photographs and all the evidence that we're going to be going over tonight, it's incredible to look at. This doesn't look natural, if you ask me. Could it be fungi? Could it be petrified fungi? I'm not exactly sure. It's interesting. NASA has been stating just recently, if we don't find any kind of life on Mars, this means that they might have to change their whole rule book, that they might think that there is no life out there at all. That's what they're saying. That's bizarre, if you ask me. That if they don't find life on one planet, that doesn't mean it exists anywhere else. It's kind of crazy what NASA's saying, as well as what they stated today is that they're going to be having to maybe look for life beyond comprehension, basically meaning that they have to look for something. If it's living, they don't even know what to look for. They're having to think out of the box, because if you're looking for life and you don't know what's out there, how do you even know what to look at? This is, again, coming in from NASA. A lot of strange stuff. We're going to be going over it tonight, so buckle up, everybody. Let's go for a ride to the red planet. Is it a possibility that the ancient civilization that built the pyramids in Egypt came from the red planet? Gene Ward has submitted to me incredible Google Mars imagery that relates to construction built on Mars that resembles construction on Earth in regards to the Egyptian pyramids. What's it all about? We've got a special panel tonight with Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio. We're going to go out to Los Angeles and speak with Opala Asteria. She's been to Egypt and she's looking over these discoveries right now. It's going to be an incredible update from her. And we're also going to go to Arizona with Doc Skinner and get his insight, including Dr. J. It's going to be an incredible ride tonight. Hang on, everybody. We also got my brother Brent Cousins with me. Let's get to it and take a look at Gene Ward's evidence. We're going to break it down.
And that object is about 15 meters in length and about 8 meters wide. And if we zoom in on it, we can see it consists of this larger port with this funny scoop in front and this little protrusion coming out of the ridge line over there, and then on the side what looks like a little winglet. And if you've been following my channel, I've always speculated this could be some type of craft or machine, but actually a friend of mine looked at this and said, hang on a second, she's seen something very similar to this and immediately identified it as it could be a Scarab beetle sculpture. This one is found in the British Museum and this one at the Karnak Temple Complex. And if we check out the similarities over here, we can see it's got the larger body at the back, the little protrusion coming out of that ridge line on either of those two structures, and then that little scoop in front. And then on the side here, what looks like one of the legs.
Let's go to Opala Asteria. She's been in Egypt. She could relate to some of these things that have been discovered by Gene Ward. What's your thoughts, Opala?
Okay, this structure here, it does look a lot to me like a structure. At first I was looking at it, I'm like, it doesn't look that much different than the other, what appears to be rocks around it. But now that I look at it a little closer, there is some abnormalities in the size and shape of it. So now that he compares it to the Scarab beetle, wow, this is very interesting. So I actually went on a research trip in Egypt 3 years ago, and I bought a little scarab beetle stone, very much like the one up in the right-hand corner here. And it does look exactly like that. I do have to admit that it looks very much the same.
Let's go out to Arizona. Doc Skinner, what's your insight on this one, Doc?
All right, so we're looking at this image that's in looks like a debris field of rocks. Now he focuses in on this one that we're going to call the Scarab. And what's wild is he says we're going to focus in on that, but there's a rock off to the right that I actually want to see. It looks like an alien's face upside down. I don't know. That's just me. You know, there's that weird mental thing where you can see things in objects. So I don't know. But this is he zooms in on this one object that looks like a gigantic carving of a scarab. And at first I was looking at it thinking like he did, it could be a craft. But then he points out the scarab and he puts along the comparison of the scarab statues. And the thing that sells it for me is the dip and that little nose that you see, that if you look at it sideways, it looks like a face. But in the idea of a scarab, does look very, very close and similar to the statues he compares them to. So, don't know unless I went there, but and looked at it myself. But yeah, it looks like a scarab.
Let's take it out to Los Angeles to Dr. J. Dr. J, what's your thoughts on these incredible discoveries by Gene Ward?
Yeah, that's why I always love footage like this. Catching stuff from Mars of possibly ancient civilization, which is what it looks like with our ancient civilizations here on Earth. Now, this is really interesting. A scarab. Okay, I wouldn't have personally thought of scarab myself. However, when you look at the two side by side, it's very uncanny. Now, however, there are tons of other stuff here on Earth that you could say looks like those buildings. But in ancient Egypt artifacts, this is something that their culture does look like. Now, I don't think that a beetle was what was used to fashion giant buildings on Mars. I don't think Mars got their impression from the beetle, but why they look similar, you know, the scarab is a natural thing, it's supposed to be, you know? So that's the irony of this, but again, the fact that we have more and more evidence showing on Mars of stuff that looks like from Earth is very compelling.
Look, the reality is we've always wondered whether or not there was once life on Mars. Was it civilized? Was there an ancient race that once used Mars as its home planet? Was it taken out by nuclear weapons in a nuclear war or some sort of fallout? The reality is we do not know. Until we get more science on Mars, right now what we're looking at is a bunch of pareidolia. Our eyes and our brain are trained in order to pick out objects and try and recognize them with something that we have seen before. I think that's a lot of what is happening right now when we look at anything on Mars. Look, there are some strange anomalies. Never mind the bug that this gentleman says is there. It does look like that, but that could also be natural formation of thousands of years of windstorms, rainstorms, snowstorms, whatever the climate is on Mars. We don't know.
Then the other anomaly we're checking out is right there. This measures about 510 meters across, and up close it looks pretty much like the eye of Horus. We can see the eyebrow there, two eyelids and the pupil inside, and we can compare it to that pendant with the Egyptian sky god, as Horus is known.
All right, in this image, we'll call it the Eye of Horus. All right, it is, when zoomed in, something that looks like the Eye of Horus, and you have an eyebrow. There's no denying it. That's what it looks like. And the ridge at the top that is supposed to be creating the eyebrow is different from the rest of the natural structure. Now, I'm looking at it thinking, okay, those are cliffs going down into a cavern. You know, it could be runoff, and those are like the runoff lines. That's a possibility. Now, as he zooms out, we look at it. Yes, there are large monuments that can only be seen from space, but the fact that this has been pressed up against a gigantic other structure, just something doesn't fit right with me on this one. It could be that thing where you look into things and you can see what you want to see. I don't know, but up close, it does look like the Eye of Horus. Hands down, will not deny. But the fact that if it was done on purpose, why did they press it up against this other large plateau structure? I don't know. It kind of throws me off. So this one, I don't know. But it does look like an eye up close. I'll give it that.
Also, there's been a lot of talk about there being an ancient race on Mars. And a lot of what he shows in this video looks to me like ancient structures that were covered up by some sort of cataclysm. And from what I've heard, Mars very likely was once a highly advanced civilization, and they actually evolved to a point where they got out of hand with their technology, very similar like how we did back in the 60s when we bombed Hiroshima. And they could have very easily caused a continent-wide cataclysm, or a planet-wide cataclysm. So this is interesting. It does look very much to me like the Eye of Horus, though, but also definitely could be a structure that is somehow encased in... It looks like it's shaped quite a bit differently than this is. I mean, and also there's this other circle up above it, something else that seems to be buried under sediment. To me, really, this looks like some sort of structure, something very interesting, some sort of tunnels and a structure right here that was buried under sediment during some ancient cataclysm. That's just my theory. Although it does very much look like the Eye of Horus right there.
The second one, it's ironic because as I looked at it, I immediately said the Eye of Horus. I immediately did. And then, of course, it was the Eye of Horus. And because that eye is such a famous logo. As a matter of fact, it's used in the Temple of Set. It's very, very famous. So God doesn't build in straight lines or round circles. And this dome, whatever it is clearly, again, some structure, artificial, not naturally. Obviously made by man or something intelligent. Maybe slaves, I don't know, AI, who knows. The point is, yet another thing on Mars that looks like something that connects with ancient Egypt.
Okay, when we look at the second one with the Eye of Giza, all right, like to me, I could have said it looked like a football stadium. That looks like an NFL or a college football stadium rather than the eye. I mean, our eyes are just trained in order to figure these things out. We want to be able to put picture A and picture B and glue them together like they fit, like they would on Earth here, like slipping on a glove. That's not the way it works. We need more science. Look, there are some strange objects happening. I have seen pictures of what looks like people, what looks like aliens, what looks like bases, what looks like spaceships. But we don't know, okay? Who knows? Maybe it's like that first episode of Transformers where really there is some artificial intelligence up there that can be mechanized and take us out with one sweep of their laser pointers. I don't know. I'm joking here, guys.
And then I found this massive pyramid measuring about 3 by 3 kilometers. We can see the 4 sides. It looks like the capstone at the apex has been removed. And of course the Great Pyramid of Giza, also the 4 sides, and it looks as if the capstone there has also been removed.
We got this email from Jim Ward this morning, and I would say I was quite blown away about what we saw and the images that were coming in from Mars. When it comes down to Mars and actual possibility of life actually existing 2,000 to maybe 2 million years ago, I'm a believer in this. And what we're looking at is evidence that leans towards history of an ancient civilization.
All right, now this one, the pyramid, I have to say yes. It looks, it doesn't look natural. And we have discovered this in many other locations on Mars, as well as here on Earth, where pyramids look like they've been through, hell and back, through maybe a catastrophic event. The city of Cydonia on Mars, the pyramids there look as if, this is just my speculation and perspective, is that some type of blast hit the city of Cydonia, not Arizona, and created this. It looks like a blast field, part of the pyramids missing. This looks something similar to that. It does have the angle structures for the pyramid, but I'm sure over time it's got a lot of dust and sand on it that's probably built up around it, so it might be a fun digging excavation. But I am curious about the object at the bottom of the image, this bulge. Was this a secondary pyramid that was close by that was pushed up against it during, let's say, speculatively speaking, some type of cataclysmic explosion? I don't know. That throws me off on this photo. But this, I believe, it's the lines, it's the angles, it's the sides that make me lean towards that direction of being built. Could it be a volcano and that's the cap on top? Possible. But those lines are making me think, yes, it was a pyramid.
The temple, whoa, the pyramid, the 4-sided pyramid, something that is not just very common with what we've known about ancient Egypt and other civilizations here on Earth. This one matches Egypt, not just the 4 sides, but wow, that image from up looking straight down, again from like Google Earth on Earth and the one on Mars, are so uncanny, because when you look at Egypt pyramids versus Mayan pyramids, etc., there's differences, but not this one. These are so close that I would say that they look more similar than the Egyptian pyramids this one does to anyone else on Earth. So very, very uncanny.
Okay, this is definitely a pyramid. I don't see what else it could be. And it actually very much reminds me of the pyramid that has been found in Antarctica that people have been sharing from the Google Maps in Antarctica that looks like it's covered by snow and ice. This looks very similar to me. Something I want to say about all this is I don't know about there being an Egyptian link. And I say this because I don't think the Egyptians built the pyramids. I think they inherited them. I believe from my research that the pyramids are much, much older, especially the pyramids of Giza are much, much older than we say they are. I personally worked with Larry Dean Hunter. His work is very interesting. He talks a lot about the pyramids being millions of years old because of fossilized shells he has found at the top and the weathering of them. It looks like they were actually buried under the Great Flood, and the flood waters had to recede for them to be as weathered as they are, which would have been millions of years ago. And this, to me, looks like a pyramid covered in sediment, like, most likely millions of years of sediment. So, yeah, I don't see what else this could be. I mean, you can see the sides of it. definitely seems the capstone is missing, which if it was built the same as the pyramids in Egypt, they supposedly had gold capstones. And what do you do with gold? You take it and melt it down if, you know, you're a civilization that has transpired past the previous one that doesn't know what the structure was used for anymore.
And then these blocks that are found in Elysium Planitia near the InSight Lander and Curiosity rover. These blocks measure about 10 by 10 meters each, with this little triangular block on top. And we can see it's got this strange dome-like protrusion there in the center. And we've got these blocks neatly arranged next to one another. And then also in the same photograph, we've got some more blocks tightly packed together. That one over there looks almost like a pillar or a column. That measures about 12 meters long. And up close, we can see smooth, flat sides, 90-degree angles. And it almost looks as if there's a little triangle cut out of that one side. And very similar to the Awara pyramid inner core, the limestone blocks, which is part of the external veneer.
All right, now we're looking at some cool stuff. This shot is very impressive. I'm going to say hands down, not natural. And I'm talking about these stone blocks and walls that look just like they do, in Egypt and other places around the world that have these gigantic stone blocks. This looks like a debris field of something that was built, and these are the pieces of it. And some of them came together in clumps, and you could see how they fit together. This photo and these images, wow. I love when we come across this type of stuff, or me especially. Because it's not natural. It's not natural. Right angles and perfect blocks, square up. I mean, he talks about the Hawara pyramid and the inner core limestone blocks, part of the external veneer. Now, do I believe that there is life on Mars? Possibly. And that's a whole nother episode. But I do believe there was at one time life on Mars, and there was a gigantic, either a battle or a cataclysmic event that caused them to jump ship or move underground. Out of things that I've researched over the years, that is my guesstimate at this time. Things change, new information comes. This is always a fluid study and ever changing. So that's where I am on these. But this image was my favorite out of all of them, because you cannot deny it. And if you do, please explain to me why, because it's pretty definitive. So that's what I think on that one.
Again, the fourth one, I don't know what to make of it. They're again on Mars, another what looks to be abandoned buildings that look like are blocks or the top of pillars that were used in Egypt and Rome and Greece. It's really, really interesting because we're talking microscopic stuff here on Earth that are massive in size on the Mars. Now, let me say one final thing. Project Horizon from the early 50s was out to put bases on the Moon and Mars prior to 1965. Now, people can look it up. I don't need to go into the details of it. But one of the things they said was to also occupy old, abandoned civilizations. So buildings from, like we're seeing on Mars right now. Very interesting how all this ties together right now.
The similarities between Egypt and what we're seeing on Mars is undeniable. We're looking at pyramids. We're looking at blocks of stone that duplicate the look of what we see in Giza.
from hieroglyphs that are found in Egypt that compare to what we're looking at Mars. What I'm thinking is that the possibility of life being on Mars and was wiped out at some point. Maybe they lost their atmosphere and had to escape. The possibility of Mars experiencing a cataclysmic event is natural, and it could happen here at Earth. Is there a connection between Earth and Mars? Was there a civilization that traversed space to come to colonize Earth? That is a possibility, and I'm leaning towards this.
And when it comes to Mars, with no people there, very little science being done there since it's so far away, we can only assume, we can only suspect.
Okay, this to me reminds me quite a bit of the different temples built in Machu Picchu. I don't know if you'd say temples, but you know, the different structures that were built in Machu Picchu, Ollantaytambo, that sort of area. And I say this because the way that these fit together here, it's not in an exact sort of formation, but it's like they were made to fit together in an irregular sort of way. You see how this one at the bottom here is curved, and then the other ones on top of it fit perfectly over it and are curved to fit into it exactly. And you see that with a lot of structures around the world that are super ancient, obviously. But Ollantaytambo is a great example of that. And I think my theory with that is that they were actually poured like concrete. A lot of people don't think that in ancient times they would have had the technology to make concrete. And I say, why not? You know, it actually, the way that these would fit together, it would make it so that they would be much more earthquake proof. And these are very large blocks. And the way, like I said, the way they were fit together here, it doesn't make sense that they would be there randomly on their own. This is definitely something that was made by some sort of intelligence.
I want to thank everybody from around the world who joined us in this incredible premiere tonight. And I want to thank Gene Ward for sharing his incredible discoveries along with the panel. If you like what you're seeing, give us a big thumbs up right here at Third Phase of Moon. We're trying our best to get the information out as fast as possible and give you more insights from more people that have experience and background in this subject matter. The mystery behind Mars needs to be explained, and that's what we're doing right here at Third Phase of Moon, covering the whole aspect of life. If it exists on other planets, obviously we think it does. That's why we're in this field. And I think a lot of people out there have captured things that are not from our planet. It's come from another solar system, maybe another galaxy, who knows, maybe even another universe. So we're keeping an open mind. Some of the evidence that we saw tonight is very interesting, to say the least, that there is reasons why we ask these questions due to the fact of the evidence that's been presented. There was something that has once existed on the red planet, and I'm hoping NASA comes forward with some answers, because they need to go check out places like this. So this is what we're doing. You're seeing this cave right here. Why didn't they go there? They should have just landed there with their Perseverance and maybe fly their little helicopter in there. Wouldn't that be great? Let's get to the real spots that show some kind of intelligence. Now we got something special for you. It's our new music video. We decided to share it tonight. It's out of this world. Enjoy, everybody. The Majestic 12.
The year was 1984. Some men sat together in a clubhouse made for few. Through peers who'd known each other before, they created a panel only for the lucky few. But that's not to say they were alright, alright. How close did they keep the secret to the rest? But that's not to say they were alright, alright. How long would they keep the secret to the rest? The fear will lead spirits soar. Reconnaissance and evidence of life beyond the stars. They steer perception towards the door, covering the surface in a manipulative canopy.
Buckle up. Third Phase of Moon, new album, Behind the Veil, is now available worldwide with the original song like Going to the Moon.
We'll get lost on the way to the moon. Out there where there's asteroids, we'll hit you right on the way to the moon. On the way to the moon.
The American flag on the moon. It had to be understood in the context of the Cold War as our delayed answer to the Russians sending a satellite into space first.
Are you ready for the Men in Black? They're out to get you if you're not careful.
There's really no escape no matter what you do. The Men in Black keep coming back and watching over you. You take the hills and I'll just keep this dusty road. Let's get out together while keeping our mouths closed.
Tracks like We're Not Alone.
Looking around thinking it's only you, only to find we're many more than a few. Where do they lie? How come we seldom see them? Right in between the lines is where they reside. No reason to fear, we know who's here. The narrative falls, trickle through the years on everyone.
Going deep into the mystery of the Majestic 12. Pulse pounding, get you dancing music.
Alright. How close do they keep the secret to the rest? But that's not to say they were alright. How long would they keep the secret to the rest?
Who's ready to go for a ride with Meta Propulsion?
Is at the forefront, chemical injections needed, but not from this world of research is what they will call it, and never let you see any results. Yeah, we're using electromagnetic fields. There's something out there with us.
12 brand new songs available right now on all audio streaming platforms like iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and TikTok, and much, much more. Check out the link to the entire album right now. The link is in the description below. Third Phase of Moon, Behind the Veil. Get ready to take off to another dimension.
So